right, very good. So, little black book of realtor secrets. Does anybody out there have any ever get nervous when you're talking with a listing on a listing appointment, and you have a maybe a high-end luxury seller, especially who is sophisticated? Anybody ever get worried about pricing and how to speak to pricing? Um, Getting yourself backed into a corner. You don't want to say anything too low and lose the deal, right? And you don't want to say anything too high where it sits on the market and get them excited about a number that's unachievable. Anybody ever have issues with that, or questions, concerns? Make you nervous a little bit? Get some shaking of the heads. All right, very good. All right, so here's a method that I have learned and feel like it's the best one that I have seen. So I'd like to share it with you guys a little bit. So, Tom, maybe we can talk a little bit back and forth with this. Maybe you be the the seller. So
Absolutely.
what we want to do is we want to discover, some anchor points and discover where it is that what's in their brain, right? Without asking them, well, what do you think it is, right? Because they always come back and say, well, I hired you, Ray. You tell me, right? We've heard that or some version of that every time we go out. But so what we want to do is we discover what they're thinking and then disassociate price from the pricing strategy is what we are looking for. So I would say something like, let's just say that the house is worth perceived market value is about $1 million to make the math easy. So I can say something like, "Hey Tom, it looks like you bought this house 6 years ago for 643,000. Is that correct?"
Yeah, that's about right.
Awesome. Okay, so now we have an anchor. We have a low end anchor in this conversation. Um, and now we want to go to the other extreme. Say, Tom, do you know in the last 7 years, do you know what the highest priced home sold for in this neighborhood?
Well, I've seen some of my neighbors and talked to them. They've said they've gone to 1.5, 1.6 mil.
Yeah, actually, well, actually had to look it up, and that was actually 1.3 million. So
Okay.
that's the highest price in this neighborhood. So now we have two extreme anchors, right? 643 is where he bought it, and 1.3 was the highest price home sold in the neighborhood. Um, so then I'm going to go to the what I call the center winner strategy, right? So Tom, I know that once we sell this house and you planning on moving back to California. Let's say we launch tomorrow, everything goes great, right? You are we have your house under contract in 14 days, and in 37 days you're in that new Tesla that you just bought, and you're driving back to California, and you've got a huge smile on your face, right? You're just the world is your oyster. You're feeling great. What number was on that contract that I brought you?
Wow. Well, I would say it's probably somewhere in the middle. I'm hoping, 1.3, 1.4, I guess.
So I would think that Tom would not want to be a jerk and go above the highest price sold home in the neighborhood, right? So he's going to be, what is realistic, right? His house is not the nicest one in the neighborhood, but Tom would probably say something like, "I don't know, Ray, if you could got me 1.2, I'd be super super happy," right?
I'd be happy.
I
I'd be
mean,
happy at 1.2.
yeah. So 1.2 would be that's going to put a big huge smile on your face. Okay, so now we've got the that's the winner price. If I get Tom 1.2, I'm a winner. I'm doing great in his eyes. Tom, so now I have to ask you the tough question, right? What at what price would I bring you where we would absolutely have no deal?
Oh, anything below a million, to tell you the truth. I know it needs a little help, but it's still worth $1 million at the minimum.
Okay, so anything below a million, that would just be really rude and insulting to you. Okay, so that would be the center price. So now we have a price range, right? We got the very low of 643 is where he bought it. 1.3 was the most expensive in the neighborhood that sold, but we've got his sweet spot, right? Somewhere between a million and 1.2. So now we want to disassociate those prices with the time frame and how fast we're going to get to move. Um, so usually I will say so Tom, what do you think the price is worth? And he'll say like, well, Ray, that's why I called you. I want you to tell me. Right. So that's really a half-assed compliment. So just take it. And then ask him again, Tom, what do you think the price is? Or, some variance of that question. People don't want to get the same question twice because they don't want to have to give you the same answer and give you another half-assed compliment. So just ask them that again. You'll usually get something. But so then you would say something like, Tom, really, the price is nothing more than an invitation, right? So don't be so stuck on price. Whatever we list it for, that is nothing but an invitation for an offer. If we listed your house for 2 million, how many people you think are going to come to the party?
I don't think anybody is.
Nobody. So here's where we're going to get into a pricing strategy. Disassociate the price with how fast we're going to sell the house. So we want to get into we have 3 different pricing strategies, Tom, that we can get into, right? We can go what is perceived market value, which actual market value we don't know. So we got to get that. Let's get that out of our language, because we don't know until a buyer is the one who actually is going to set the actual market value of the house. So perceived market value is going to be like $1 million, right? But then we've got event pricing, which might be, I don't know, 900 to 950. And that would be where we could get into like an auction effect going on, get multiple offers, get lots of people out there. So if we price that house 900 to 950, that would be event pricing. And we could have perceived market pricing, which would be $1 million, or we could have aspirational pricing, which would be something like 1.1 million, somewhere around there. And if you can't get him to go into which one he wants to do from there, right? We've all heard those 3 pricing strategies before, hopefully. But if you can't get Tom to back him into something right there, what he wants, then you might go into a little bit of banter and go back and forth with him a little bit. And let's say something like, well, Tom, how about, we've got 2 variables here. We got price and we got time. You give me one variable and I'll give you the answer to the other.
Wow.
Tom said it's like $2 million, Ray. And I say, okay, well, 389 months. That's when we're going to sell your house. If you give me something like 1.5, I'll say 18 months. We can sell your house. 950 list price. I say, 14 days. We'll be under contract. So it's disassociate the price with the offer and associate it more with the timing. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions about that? Does that help kind of talking to a client about price and not necessarily backing yourself into a corner, whether you shooting yourself in the foot, going too low and you lose the deal, and also setting a too high of expectation, too high of a price where it sits on the market forever. I'm good. Any questions around that? That's all I got for that.